the one person who you haven't gotten to meet yet is Nicole Tsien, who is the brains, power, and organization behind everything that happens at POV. She's been shepherding this film and all of the films that you see on POV for years now. She went from intern to girl boss.
Don't play with her.
Bella says it right, don't play with her. And I have to tell you, when I first joined and I didn't know what was going on, I had 20-minute coffees with everybody. She's like, all right, here's how it happens. Laid everything out. So I'm so proud to have her with this panel tonight and so proud of all of you.
Thank you.
Yes. You can sit in the fifth seat if you want, girl. She said,
Can I say also what a treat it is to watch it with this audience? This is my first movie, I think, experience since the pandemic.
Awesome.
So thank you everybody for reminding me of what it's like to go to watch a movie in a theater.
Look, every movie ain't like that though.
No. Definitely not. I guess maybe you all want to go down the row and introduce yourselves?
Well, I'm Bella Boz. You saw the film.
No explanation.
Okay, I'll do this. Boz, I don't think I did this in the film. Did I do this in the film?
Just, no,
Okay.
say it again.
Boz is BAHHS. That stands for Black Ancestors Here Healing Society. Not bars, not prisons, not police, us. We are here healing us. Okay? So, yeah.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Janaé Bonsu.
They owe you another flower.
That's all you got?
I mean,
It speaks for itself.
okay.
Yeah.
What else people
That's
say?
fine. We understand, okay. I am Ashley O'Shea. I'm the director. I'm the director producer of this film. That has Shay Oh yeah, I did a lot. Yes, I did a lot. It was a lot.
I am Morgan Elise Johnson, producer of Unapologetic. I'm also co-founder and publisher of The Tribe, a Black publication reshaping the narrative of Black Chicago.
Collectively, we are them girls.
What's wrong here?
So I'm gonna ask some questions and then we'll open it up to everybody, but we'll keep it casual. So Ashley, what inspired you to start telling the story?
Yeah, so Chicago inspired me to start telling this story. I began this film in the fall of 2015, like less than 6 months after graduating from undergrad. And the fall of 2015 was like a hallmark moment in the city. Young Black people were continuing to organize around the killing of Rekia Boyd. And what was really like influential to me in that moment was that it was not only young Black people, it was young Black women that I could directly identify with.
Come on.
And that was not something I had ever really seen in my formal education when talking about Black social movements. You know, you hear about MLK, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, but I did some research and I was like, was there any comprehensive media about young Black women, queer folks, femmes that were at the helm of this movement in Chicago? I did not know what I was getting into. I joke with both of them because originally when I approached Janaé about the film, I did not lie. But I was thinking about it as more of a short film piece about Janaé's work, her first semester in her PhD program, and then the tape of the killing of Laquan McDonald came out. And as you all saw in the film, it was like a monumental moment in the city. And I just felt like if we don't document this, it's gonna get lost to history. And also in the time that I had met Janaé, but like between meeting Janaé and the Laquan tape, I had like met all of these other amazing leaders. And I just felt like it deserved so much more than like a 15 to 20 minute film. So yeah, I kind of I figured it out as I was going along. And had, I think, with both Janaé and Bella, just like their willingness to be vulnerable with me, to be open with me, was really affirmation, because I was just a cinematographer, to be quite frank with you. I was like, I will never be a director of films. Like, director types are super weird, and like their vibes are off. They be weird, but like I can't imagine this film told from the perspective of anyone other than a black woman, and like we don't have enough of that. And so I was like, I don't know if I can do this, but if I have to be the vessel to tell people that black women should be the director of feature-length films, then I will just do it. Come on. So, yeah.
And how did you first meet Janaé and Bella? What was that like? Well, you're from Ashley, then I'll ask you.
Yeah, I'm like, ask them. So Janaé, as you saw in the film, she was the Chicago chapter co-lead of Black Youth Project 100, which also has a New York chapter. And okay, I don't know if I ever told you this, but like I was interning at Cartoon Quinn Films at the time, which was the beginning of this film. And they were like, you gotta make a piece for your like internship. And I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but these black women be going off. So I literally hit up my friend and I was like, do you know anybody that's like doing this shit? And she was like, talk to Janaé Bonsu. And I was like, okay, I don't know who that is, but I got her email. So Janaé was the first one. Janaé was the first person I cold emailed. She made me come to a BYP 100 orientation before I could even
I was
start.
like, you can't come to our meetings talking about you working with a camera and just slide in there. Like, no.
Exactly.
Everybody thought she was the feds, not just Bella.
Yeah, exactly. So no, Janaé was the first person that said, like, yes, I will let you, like, I will give you this perspective. I will give you, like, my perspective of what I'm going through as a movement leader. And when I found out that she was also in her first semester of her PhD program, she was 24 at the time, I was 22. I was like, girl, I don't know what I'm doing. How are you in a PhD program? That's a lot.
Barely survived.
So yeah, Janaé was just like, she was ready to go from the jump. Like you really gave me a lot of hope and energy for this process, just because of your energy. No, I'm for real. Like, I saw myself a lot in you, and I just.
You ain't never told me any of this. This is.
No, because
That's she drunk. We were drinking.
I know, I've been
Let
drinking.
me find out. I gotta get you liquored up to tell your people.
No, because because I was a very academically driven person. Like, y'all are watching like a kumbaya. I'm so sorry. I was a very academically driven person. I always followed the rules. But when I went to Northwestern and Trayvon Martin died, I was like, this is fucked up. Like I always understood that I was a black woman in this world, but like understanding what it means, like in a language and a strategy that you can understand, is an entirely different thing. So like I just saw myself in you, really. And then
Me seeing myself in you is what made me say yes.
Come on.
So yeah, I just followed Janaé around for a little bit, and then the tape of the killing of Laquan McDonald came out, and shortly after, as you saw in the film, Gary McCarthy was forced to resign. And so that scene that y'all saw where Bella's performing, where she says, I'm Malcolm X in the booth and I'm excited to the bullshit.
Yes.
That was the first time. I didn't know Bella, but I filmed that, and I was just like, who is this small person with all of this energy? Like, what is going on? But I had already started to think about like expanding it to other women in the movement. So after she performed, I like approached her. She wasn't really feeling it, but But even our first interview where I could tell you were still finding your voice as an activist, as an organizer. Like, you're like, people always ask me to show up to these rallies and events, and I don't really know what's going on, but like, I could tell that you were just gaining so much from that space. And the fact that you were from Chicago, from the West Side, I just knew that we needed to represent that. So, yeah, then I just kept bothering Bella, and she really wasn't giving me the time of day till like year 4. So
Kept bothering me.
year 3 or 4 is really when we got deeper with Bella. But I interviewed a lot of women and femmes in the movement, but I just kept coming back to these two, and I just kind of kept flowing with that.
And what was it like for both of you working with Ashley, having Ashley film everything?
I mean, for me, like I said, from jump, you know, I was driven to say yes by the fact that, I mean, I saw a lot of myself in Ashley, and the fact that she was really fresh out of school. I can't remember how you framed it, if it was like you being fresh out of school or you like something with an internship or something. Yeah. She was connected to school and she was trying to get something done. But not just something, but intentionally trying to tell a type of story that is not typically told. That, you know, really trying to shine a light on, you know, the type of leadership that I had grown accustomed to in Chicago, which was that of Black women, right? And I didn't know of any comprehensive media pieces on like Black women's leadership in the movement, especially this contemporary movement for Black lives that we're still living in. And so I was like, okay, you trying to get something done for school, and like, I'm with it, so let's do it. And because I thought it was gonna be some 15-minute shit. So I'm like, okay, cool, I'll help you out with your little project. And then 4.5 years later, I'm just like, damn, what is this?
Hey, but I brought you to Harlem though. You back home though.
True. But no, it was cool. I mean, there were times where I was hesitant, especially as we both started to see that this was not a little project. Yeah. You know, my hesitancies were around like, you know, like Bella is Chicago born and bred. I am not. I was born here. I was born in Brooklyn. Yeah. You know, I was raised in Columbia, South Carolina. Like, I was a transplant. I literally, had it not been for grad school, would not have been in Chicago, right? And so this very Chicago story, I felt like, I don't know if I'm the best person for this, right? It took me a long time to even consider myself to be a, you know, quote unquote leader, right? There were, you know, different hesitancies I had, and also because, you know, that isn't my home base. I cultivated community in Chicago, but it wasn't home base. So I worried about, you know, the different elements of my like real personal life and roots, you know, not being able to be really reflected, which I'm really grateful that like Ashley made the trip to Columbia to like get some of that, right? So I had hesitancies, but like overall, I thought that the importance of really humanizing this like broader movement and the like political structures that we're up against and all of that, I thought it was important. And if, you know, I could play a role in telling that story, then I was honored to do that. So I mean, in terms of the process of what it was like to be filmed by Ashley, I mean, you know, for the most part, I just acted like she wasn't there. You know, I was just like, you know.
Janaé, okay, no shade to you, Bill.
She about to shade you.
Janaé was like the ideal documentary film subject. No,
Let's hear from Bella.
No, that's not.
We're gonna let her finish. She will sing.
No. Because I remember when this leads into you. I filmed her birthday. They're both Pisces. I filmed her birthday.
Yeah, we are.
A week before yours, and I remember that was like, I felt like the first like embedded scene where I was really with the whole community, whatever.
You left the party before it really got lit. I just want
No, I had to. No, but beforehand, I remember you came to me and you were like, so like, we gonna be drinking, we gonna be smoking, like it's gonna be a lot going on. And I'm like, no, I just want to get y'all in y'all's element, whatever you're comfortable with, and then I'm gonna be out. And that's really the energy I was trying to keep, because I didn't want it to be like, and you know this, Nicole, like documentary filmmaking can be very extractive. And I'm like, I want you to still be able to live y'all's lives, and I feel like I'm like forcing this film onto you. And I know it still felt weird at times, but like when you said yes to me coming to your birthday, I was like, okay, shit, we gonna make a film. Like, it's so happy. And then that gave me the courage to ask you the next week if I could come film your birthday. So y'all, like, throughout the process, I felt like helped me get comfortable, like, with both of you. That's all I was saying. It wasn't no shade. It was just she gave me first.
Okay.
And Bella, you know how you were, so don't play with me.
She valid. She valid. I was a difficult subject. to say the least. I was very difficult. Yeah, like first things first. She was like, I want to interview you. I could come to your house. You can come to who house? You can come to who house? Cause I'm from the west side of Chicago. I know what happened to Fred Hampton, baby. I don't like that. You want to come to my house? You want a blueprint? I don't like that. I joke a lot, but it ain't funny for real.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like, no. And then I'm like, they smart. They getting smarter. The feds, the government. They sending black women looking like that.
It be your own people.
You know, it be your own people. They try to get real up close. I'm like, But Ashley was filming like, to me, the baddest women in Chicago. Right, like these, y'all see her. Her husband here, so I ain't gonna say too much. Y'all see what's going on, okay?
Shut up.
But no, I'm like, okay, they smart. Y'all see her, she's smart. I'm like, so okay, maybe she's not the feds, cause they probably wouldn't let the feds. I don't know. It took some convincing for me though, but what really sealed it was like, okay, we can get personal. And mind you, this was a 4.5-year project, so it was like year 3, 4 that we really. She got the most scenes with me because I was still ignoring calls, looking at the phone like I still don't know. I'm not quite sure about this one. Okay.
Your mom?
But my mama met her, and my mama been to prison, been in the feds, so she's the most paranoid person I know. Like, the most paranoid person I know. Okay? And when she was like, I'll sit down and talk to Ashley. Like, I'll tell her my story, like, I trust her. I'm like, damn, okay. Shit, you know the feds, baby, so I guess you would know if she was the feds, okay? So yeah, it took a while for me to get there. Especially she wanted to go, both of them wanted to go see my brother with me, and I'm like, that's what? First of all, that's a 4-hour drive. You know what type of conversations we had? We cried on the way there, on the way back. Like, you know, we have memories. Like, that's a little too personal. Like, you doing too much. But I'm so grateful that you did too much. For real, like that was necessary. I also want to just comment on what you said about not feeling like this was your place to be in this film. I think what I appreciate most about your story is that you're not from Chicago. Is that you came to Chicago and felt like you were from there. You know, my grandmother is from Mississippi. Right? My grandmother moved our family from the South to Chicago. And so I see so much of her in you.
Stop it.
Yeah, we're not gonna cry. So that's all I'm gonna say. Before I get through.
And Morgan, can you talk about your collaboration with Ashley and how you came to the project?
Oh, sure. Well, I've told this story many times, but I was finding my way back to the Chicago area. I'm from the north suburbs of Chicago, and I was seeing just the national and international discourse of Chicago. You know, during Barack Obama's presidency, Chicago became the punching bag of the world, because it was like, look at Chicago, look at what's happening in Chicago, you know? And it became a problem to say I'm from Chicago, I'm from the Chicagoland area, because the overwhelming narrative of Black Chicago was that of gun violence. and that was the news that our local media, national media, political pundits, that was the main thread. And so I had talked to a friend into coming into Chicago to start the publication that
Tiffany
is now
Walden.
Tiffany
She and a
Walden,
friend. She's a co-founder.
And co-founder Tiffany Walden into coming to Chicago to reshape that narrative. And right when I got back, Cartemquin was like, ooh, filmmaker back in town. You need to get connected with Ashley. They were like, we got a film for you, and we gonna make this happen. So once I got introduced to Ashley, even though we both went to Northwestern and haven't met each other before.
And I had you on that alumni panel.
Yes, you did. So, you know, multiple touch points. Multiple touch points. So I'm just like, she's Northwestern, she's a black woman, she's young. I couldn't say no. Like, once she started sending me the demo and I saw Bella, I saw Janaé, I was like, ooh, I have to get involved. So I was sending her paragraphs of notes, but I was like, I'm not getting involved, but here's what you need to do. And that's how I got involved with the film. Yeah.
We have a couple of time for questions from the audience. Anybody? Yeah?
I am curious, what healing modalities do you use in your activism, if any, to combat just the amount of trauma that it takes to do the type of work that you're doing, and like how do you all cultivate joy and pleasure in the process?
That's a great question. For me, so sister circles was one thing that was really important. So sister circle typically looked like, myself and several of my closest friends would get together and commune over food and, light some incense, really just like, just sometimes we would be silent and just like kind of just be together. Sometimes it'd just be like, yo, this week was fucked up, right? And just kind of dump on each other and hold that space and be like, it's okay, sis, or like, fuck that nigga, sis, or like whatever, right? But really just have space to just be with each other. I also had a therapist during this time. Didn't always get to make it, sometimes,
Right.
Health insurance in this country is crazy, so I didn't always have access, but when I could, I went. The stuff that we was fighting against and fighting for really can take a toll on you. And then when you add grad school on top of that, it was just like, whoa, I got issues with anxiety and depression. So yeah, I think, and during this time too, so I was in Chicago for a total of 7 years. And over that time, I had embarked on a spiritual journey wherein, I was more intentionally connecting more with my ancestors and really learning more about my family history and actually calling on my ancestors for help, for guidance, and really that really just got me through, because when I think about the things that we're fighting against and the kind of future that I'm moving towards, I think, man, my ancestors likely felt a lot of the things that I felt right now, or had to fight against bigger demons, you know what I'm saying? And so I think pulling on my past for strength to really stay in the present and move towards the future was really, really healing for me as well.
Thank you.
Y'all saw me making music
Yes.
in a film.
We
So
saw a little bit of that.
a little bit of that.
Bye, not bye.
A little bit of that. But that's healing. That's healing for me. Writing has always been healing for me. The activism itself, the protest itself, as traumatic as they were healing for me.
Yeah, that's real.
Just being in space with people who cared, with women who cared, with gender non-conforming folks who cared, with trans women who cared, with men who, at least during the time of the protest while we had the mic, had to act like they cared. Right. That was healing. I was really depressed. For most of what y'all saw on film. But anger felt so much better. Right? Like, so anger was healing for me. And yeah, it was just something also just about being in these spaces where I knew for a fact that we had been in space together before. Right, like as in another lifetime, you know, we done made movies together, right? And we could feel that. Like, there's just something when we hold hands, when we take up space, when we block off intersections, when we block off highways, like this thing pulsing through us, right? Like, it's like we've been here before and we will be here again.
Yeah.
And now it was something healing about that, about knowing that, like, this moment isn't it. Right? Like, this moment is a continuum of moments. Right? Yeah.
Did I tell you I was your biggest fan?
You had said that.
I should say it publicly.
Look, and she said that before the film.
One last question from the front.
Question for Dr. Janaé, Bonsu.
He loves saying that whole thing.
He love you, girl.
Okay, husband, what you got to
He
add?
love you, girl.
We saw in the film that your father was a pivotal influence in where you were taking things. But is there anybody else in your family that was important, that was a driving force to what you continue to do? And as you move forward, fast forward to now versus then, what does your work look like now?
Yes, definitely. I actually didn't even know that my father was an activist until I was one myself. Like, I just stumbled across that photo on Facebook one day, and I was like, "Damn, that's Daddy on the bullhorn, like in college." And I asked him about it, and he told me that story, and I was like, "Damn, you was whole ass organizing against police, and I'm doing the same thing right now. That's crazy." It's like coincidence, but I didn't like grow up in an activist family or anything like that. Like, what really set me on a path towards, you know, starting with just critiquing the criminal legal system to wanting to dismantle it, and end criminalization was my mom's side of the family. There are 3 generations of people with felony convictions on my maternal family, my uncles, my cousins, my grandpa. Something that you said in the film, Bella, about, you know, your grandma always told you that your parents was away at college. That resonates with me so deeply because, like, until my mom was 8 years old, she thought that her dad was away in college, right, when he was really in prison serving time, right? So one of my biggest influencers, or some of my biggest influencers, were my late, I call him Uncle Whoopi. His name is Gregory Tyrone Olden. Rest in peace. He was incarcerated throughout my life, but when he was out, we bonded a lot, and he, you know, had a drug addiction. You know, just a lot of things that kind of contributed to this, like, cycle of incarceration. And I knew that he wasn't a bad person at his core. I knew that he needed help. Like, he had, you know, issues, but, like, he wasn't a bad person. He didn't deserve to be in prison my whole life. And so, you know, he really got me to thinking about, like, so if he's not a bad person, then why is he in prison? And so I would credit definitely him, my grandpa, my cousins. I got cousins that's, like, on the run right now, like, trying to stay away from the laws, right? So yeah, I think my family, my maternal family, for sure. And so, you know, fast forward to today, I'm currently a senior research associate at the National Black Women's.
I'm sorry. I got excited.
I our mission is to dismantle pathways to criminalization. And so I use, I'm a scholar, as you saw in the film. And so I use research and policy to try to dismantle these pathways to criminalization, to try to disrupt these intergenerational cycles of incarceration, so that, you know, Black folks don't feel like they gotta tell their kids that their parents are away at college when they're really in prison. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, my family definitely has a lot to do with the path that I chose, and you know, shout out to my dad, but it's like the story is just much deeper than that. So I appreciate that question.
Yes.
Unfortunately, this is all the time we have, but thank you all so much for coming out to watch this movie. Thank you for sharing your lives, your work.
Thank y'all.
And I just had one last thing to say, aside from make sure to buy your Unapologetic merchandise.
Yes.
But if you see that young man in the booth, I used to run this cinema a number of years ago. When that young man, Langston, was a high school student in our program, and now he is a college graduate and helps us out. But I want to make sure he gets home on time, so I want to make sure that we go out, buy our merch, give our hugs, our socially distanced hugs, say goodbye, and thank you all so much. I've done events in this cinema since 2010, and this is literally one of the best ones. I know, it's a long time.
No, I didn't mean like that.
We're not gonna have like a John Cheadle.
No, I didn't mean it like that. I'm just like, you live a lot of life. I look forward. That's amazing.
So, but thank you all so much for being here, and thank all of you for being such amazing, strong, active Black women.